Hello everyone, it's Tony here, back on my channel again, this time with another deck profile. As promised in my last week's video, today we're going to be doing Dogmatika. And not just any Dogmatika, pure Dogmatika. See, one of the things I was curious about when I was playtesting other decks was that could Dogmatika be a playstyle on its own? Most decks make use of Dogmatika as an engine, either as a means of free special summons or as a backup to their main strategy. However, I just wanted to see if Dogmatika had the components necessary to be an optimized deck all on its own. And the shocking answer was, yes it can. Dogmatika actually possesses a fair number of recovery and tempo cards that allow it to make a great control stun deck. And I'll get into that as I go through the profile. Anyway, I've droned on enough. Without further ado, let's get into it. Starting off our deck profile, we have 3 Dogmatika Ecclesia, the Virtuous. Now, for those who don't know what Dogmatika do, the Dogmatika Dogma, as you would say, is almost an anti-extra deck playstyle. Most Dogmatika cards will have an effect that find a way to lock you out of your extra deck, either for the turn or for following turns. And as a result of that, you may find the deck actually lacking in versatility relevant to the extra deck. To compensate for this, however, most Dogmatika cards have an above average effect to basically deal with extra deck monsters. For example, our Ecclesia here has 3 effects. First off, she can special summon herself from the hand if there's an extra deck monster on the field. Not necessarily yours, but it can also be your opponent's. 2, when she's normal or special, you can add 1 Dogmatika card from your deck to the hand. And lastly, and most innocuous, is the fact that she can't be destroyed by battle with any extra deck monster. Now, while the Special Summon and the Search are pretty obvious effects, they're free abilities, it's a defensive ability that's actually the most prominent here. The fact that she can't be destroyed by extra deck monsters means that there's a lot of situations where you can just sit her in defense and block a very big board while still being able to get advantage off of her search. And the fact that her search applies on special or normal means that in a lot of situations you may find yourself summoning this back on your opponent's turn using other support to be able to generate advantage as well as protect yourself from OTKs. Moving on from there, we're playing 2 Dogmatika Fleur-de-Lis. Fleur-de-Lis, like Ecclesia, can special summon herself from the hand if there's an extra deck monster on the field. Unlike Ecclesia, however, her effect is a quick effect that comes with an added bonus that should you drop her while there's another Dogmatika monster on the field, you can negate the effects of 1 monster on the field. Furthermore, should she attack, she increases the attack of all Dogmatika monsters on the field by 500. What that means in a pure build is that this is your essential beater. Most of your Dogmatika monsters going forward don't have an attack that break 2000, so the fact that she herself goes to 3000 when she attacks but turns all your other Dogmatika monsters into slightly bigger beaters makes her extremely essential when you need to push for game. Continuing from there, we're playing 2 Dogmatika Maximus. Maximus can special summon himself from the hand by banishing 1 Synchro, Fusion, Xyz, or Link monster from your graveyard, and once per turn can force both players to send 2 monsters from their extra deck to the graveyard. Now in a non-pure build, you'll probably want to cut this card because giving your opponent 2 extra deck dumps can be extremely dangerous. But in a pure build, this card is extremely crucial. First off, he comes in at 3000 defense, which is an amazing blocker for a lot of situations. Not a lot of cards can out that. Secondly, assuming you're now playing the mirror, an extra deck shred is still an extra deck shred that could deny your opponent options, and the fact that you can use this effect not necessarily once per duel but multiple turns throughout means that you can essentially slowly rip apart your opponent's extra deck until they don't actually have a way to out this card. This, combined with the fact that he is a level 8, supports some of the more beneficial cards that we're playing further on. Rounding off our Dogmatika monsters, we are playing 1 Dogmatika Aiden the Enlightened. Aiden is pretty much an unchained monster for Dogmatika. Like Ecclesia, he can't be destroyed by battle with any extra deck monster, but should he be destroyed by battle or card effect, he can special summon 1 Dogmatika monster from your deck. Essentially, he's just another way to guard against your opponent's monsters that can lead into a consistency card should he be outed. You can usually end up having this card pop to summon something like Ecclesia, and Ecclesia can then potentially search into either your Fleur-de-Lis or your Maximus to start your plays next turn. Rounding off our monsters, we're playing the essential 5 hand trap package. We're playing 2 Ash and 3 Veiler. These cards are just essentially the best hand traps you could play that out the current meta. Moving on to the spells, we are playing 3 Nadir's Servant. Nadir's Servant lets you send 1 monster from the extra deck to the graveyard to add 1 Dogmatika card with less attack than the monster you send. Now, in most cases, you'll probably want to grab your Ecclesia, since Ecclesia can grab into everything else. But the fact that Deer Servant lets you send any extract monster means that you actually have a lot of access to a lot of really funky options. For example, you could send Titanclad to get additional advantage, Entis to pop your opponent's card, or even something like Omega to do some recycling or graveyard disruption. Essentially, Nadir's Servant is one Dogmatic card and a bunch of crazy shit. Moving on from there, we're playing our spicy tech of the week. We're playing 2 Chaos Scepter Blast. Chaos Scepter Blast is a quick play spell card that states that if I control a level 8 or higher spellcaster, in other words, my Maximus or my Fleur-de-Lis, I can banish one card on the field, non-targeting, face down. And given how easy it is to drop Maximus and Fleur-de-Lis from my hand, with Fleur-de-Lis being able to be dropped on my opponent's turn no less, it means that I have access to one of the most strongest permanent forms of removal for this deck on my turn and my opponent's whenever I want. Now, no stun deck is complete without some consistency, and we are playing a lot of that today. We're playing 2 Pot of Extravagance and 2 Pot of Duality. Not only does Pot of Duality not conflict with Pot of Extravagance, the fact remains that you actually don't use your X deck enough to warrant keeping it all. So being able to get that extra draw too early on can be extremely useful. Likewise, Duality can be extremely useful in the fact that most times you'll just be probably normal summoning Ecclesia and then starting your plays. So being able to dig through your deck for an essential piece, maybe like an Nadir's Servant or another trap card, can be extremely useful as well. The last spells we play for the deck are 3 Forbidden Droplets. Given the current meta of Dragoons and big boards, Droplets is essentially a staple now. And the fun fact about Droplets is that not only can I use it to break boards, it's also really useful as a form of disruption when I can use it to send my trap to negate my opponent's field should I need to. Rounding off into the traps, we're playing 3 Dogmatic Punishment and 3 Dogmatic Encounter. Now, for a lot of you, you've probably seen Punishment. Punishment lets me target one monster my opponent controls, and then send one monster from my X deck with more attack than it to destroy it. I can guarantee differently, however, that probably not a lot of you have seen Encounter. Encounter has 2 options. Either when I activate it, either I can special summon one Dogmatic monster from my hand, or I can special/add one Dogmatic monster from my graveyard. And what this means is that it can be used both as a recovery card as well as disruption. Not only can I potentially bring back, let's say, a Maximus with his 3000 defense to block my opponents, I can also do something like special back an Ecclesia from my graveyard or from my hand, which will then let me search out a Fleur-de-Lis to special summon to disrupt my opponent's board. Likewise, suppose Fleur-de-Lis in the graveyard, I can activate Encounter to grab back the Fleur-de-Lis to special summon himself that way as well. Punishment, on the other hand, serves more as a play starter than a disruption at times. The fact that Punishment allows me to send something like Titanclad, and Titanclad allows me on my end phase to special summon my Ecclesia, means that opening a Punishment is essentially a way to begin your Dogmatica combos. There's been a lot of hands I've opened in the past where I didn't actually open a single Dogmatica monster, but I opened Punishment. And setting it and allowing me to disrupt my opponent's board while still generating that advantage on the end phase means that I can play on my opponent's turn and begin breaking their board more on my turn. Finalizing the main deck, we have the traps that probably need little explanation. We have our 3 Ice Dragon Prison, because graveyard and field disruption is great. We have our 3 Imperm, because hand traps are great. And we have our 3 Trap Trick, because being able to access the rest of your trap lineup off of one card is just great. Lastly, we have the X deck, which consists of mostly monsters that we can dump off of Dear Servant or Punishment, played at the maximum because we play Extravagance. We have 3 Titanclad for that consistency. We have 3 Entis for that removal. We have 1 Borreload Fierce Dragon to bring back Dark Links that we do play. We have 1 Omega for recycling. We have 2 Wind Pegasus at Ignister for non-destruction removal when your opponent pushes back. We have 1 Phoenix for spell and trap removal that you will actually make, and we have 1 Codebreaker via Swordsman because it's a 2300 beater that you can make with 2 monsters that's a Dark Link that your Fierce Dragon can bring back. And we have 2 5-headed Link Dragon because that 5000 attack can be extremely relevant when you need to send a big monster to get rid of something using Punishment. And that concludes our pure Dogmatica deck profile. Honestly, this worked out a lot better than I had thought it would be, and I've actually gotten X1 in several locals at this point using this deck. So hopefully one of you guys can take this deck up and maybe push it to the next level. Regardless, I did change up my filming space a little bit and the filming style that I worked with due to some feedback. So likewise, I'd hope you give me some feedback for this video to tell me how it was, if there's anything I can improve. I'm always looking to get a little better with this because I'm still starting out. Regardless, my name is Tony Yang. This has been a pure Dogmatica deck profile. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you guys next time.